So, yes, hello. This is Manuel Klaman, CEO of Eaternity. And we're really proud to present our first milestone that we've reached within the Eurostar project. Just as a bit of a context, why this has been our first milestone and why we're so excited about this announcement is that the clear goal for us and for the whole consortium, and I think many more people, even in this call, is that we actually transition society towards a meaningful regime of sustainable diets. And one big cornerstone is here to actually have legislation move forward, that we have a CO2 label on food. Not just a CO2 label on food, but actually a carbon tax on food. And a big roadblock in this endeavor has been that it has not been feasible to do these calculations efficiently and of high quality. And this milestone is explicitly there to already demonstrate or show that we can actually exactly do that. So the cheeky title is, what if every food had a climate score? Here's the first 100,000. In this regard, we have this phase one completed, where we accomplished the first 100,000. And what is also really great is that this is not just 100,000 calculations, but this is actually the first ever and the biggest data set that Eaternity is releasing to the public as an open data set with no strings attached. So the whole calculation engine is open source, the whole data set is open source. This has been possible through the funding, the EU funding, and we even do not only provide a score, but also a confidence rating per score to make it even transparent what we have been doing here. So it's a public peer-reviewable life cycle assessment baseline that has been calculated by Eaternity, entirely from public data. But what is important to say is also what it is not. So even though it's one of the greatest achievements of Eaternity, it's a data set that is not completely reviewed. There can be errors in there. Specifically, we draw back to informations also from Open Food Facts, and there can be errors in the source data. There can be sometimes a link that is not correctly matched. So it's more or less showing the capability and also showing what is possible on the surface, and of course doing our very best in that regard. But just by the sheer limitation that all these calculations are not based on any primary data. Explicitly, they're not even based on data from CLIM or in Inoco, in that case, from any clients, none of our clients, none of other clients. It's really based only on the public data. It can never be as accurate as something that comes directly from a brand or from a farm. But either way, it is a stark example of what is possible, and to make this graspable and to understand the scope of what we have been doing, we even built this demonstrator app, which basically allows you to view these CO2 values directly on your phone by actually scanning a product or typing and searching it. So we can click on this pudding here, and then you see for this pudding the rating, you see the confidence score, you see details on how the calculation is broken down. So you have all this information at hand. And of course, we don't want to replace Open Food Facts or Yucca and all these apps. It's more of showing how this could be done and quickly release it also. Also to actually show and exemplify here the result, there's this button, Stöbern, where you can actually see the full 108,000 calculation in here. So you can scroll through them, you can search for them, open them, meat-based, fish-based. Yeah, you can really go through all the data with this app. Of course, you can also download them at bulk if you want to use them. Right. So, yes, as I said, it's important to understand how this calculation has been done, as it's primarily based on the data that we can access from Open Food Facts, which makes it easy because then the license required for Open Food Facts that our data also needs to be public. So that was easy. We solve an equation to understand how much of the individual ingredients are in the compound on the whole product. We infer the origins of those ingredients based on the country it's sold and commercialized and produced, and how this country imports from different countries. And then we calculate the routes, geolocate the suppliers, calculate the routes. Then we model the agricultural emissions. We add the transport emission and processing emission, and we assemble the whole life cycle inventory to calculate the CO2 value, but then also calculate the rating. So in essence, it's taking full account of the capabilities that we have at Eaternity to do CO2 calculations. But of course, this is the status quo of the calculation as we currently do them. And we also, as this project goes for 2 more years, we will significantly improve on the underlying calculation methods to make it even better. And that's here, this very important statement. This is, so to say, phase 1, this release of 100,000 data sets to the public to demonstrate it. But then there's this very important chapter 2 that we embark also with our partners here in this consortium to actually weave in primary data from farm, from brands, and also have this commercial offering together with Klim and Inoko, to actually have something where we can include the higher resolution data, higher quality data, verification along the way, to really be safe and sound, also in regards to IMCO and the upcoming EU regulations, to make this all right. And that's what we're going to embark on phase 2, based on the amazing work that our 2 partners have already done over the last year. So just to give this frame again, so Eaternity has been doing this calculation of 100K based on our data, based on our app, while Inoko is building together also with a new partner this interaction with retailers, and Klim is on a farm level, but I'll give them the word right after my presentation to go in detail on what they contribute and what they do in this project and what they have already done. We're really proud to work together with them, because on the higher surface, it basically means that we can close the loop. It's not just what's ending up with consumers, but we can engage basically all important actors along the supply chain if we put all these 3 companies together and do this. Right. There's one important aspect that I want to, one complicated slide that I want to exemplify on what we did in doing these 100,000 calculation, and that I think is really great and goes beyond what has been done previously. We did not only calculate 100,000 products, but we actually calculated for each of the product a confidence score. We calculated how accurate our measurement is in this regard. And so we do not only know where we think the CO2 value is, but we also know if we might be a bit wrong about that and why we might be a bit wrong about it. So on each of the calculations, if you open them in the app, you see the 95 percentile confidence interval around the CO2 value. And this has been done by a genius idea. We actually took perfect recipes as they would have come from a brand, as we know that what kind of data can be provided to us if we have this confidential one-to-one relationship with a brand. They can give us the recipe, they can give us information about origin, they can give us information about preservation of ingredients. So we created tens of thousands of these perfect recipes and calculated them. We calculated the CO2 values there. Then we artificially reduced the information of those perfect recipes down to what is actually then printed on the package, which is just the nutrient information and the decreasing list of ingredients. On top of that, we know that there's a lot of errors when it comes to these ingredient lists and nutrients. So yeah, sometimes they don't even sum up to 100 grams, or something is missing, water is missing in the ingredient declaration. So all those errors, we introduced them also. We perturbed and we kind of destroyed the data sets and reduced them down to what we expect to be in public. And then there's a third step. We looked at how wrong we are, right? So on some products, we're still pretty good in our estimates. On some products, we're pretty far away with the CO2 information because just of this missing information. But we were able to identify features in this perturbed data set. For example, that the ingredients don't sum up to 100%, or I don't know, salt there's a massive amount of salt in this product. Whatever, we're able to identify features, and then, of course, said, okay, if some feature is able to predict that we're off by a lot, we can use this as a filter to reduce the results. We can filter out the bad ones. And the interesting thing is that Holger went beyond just filtering out the bad one with a filter, but he took all the filters that we came up with. He measured how each individual filter with the parameter it has contributes to the error, like to the uncertainty. And so we were able to do like a full uncertainty interval based on all the filters, and we were able to reduce the data set by those where we have the biggest uncertainty. So we were able to do actually 500,000 calculations and reduce them down to 100,000 calculation to shrink this 95 confidence interval to something where we're much more certain now. Certain to a degree that basically just 1 in 10 of the calculations stretch the boundaries between the ratings. That was a bit of a goal to make sure that if we say this is the CO2 value, but it has an error threshold, that we make sure the error threshold does not cross those boundaries too often. So you see here the rating B, but it crosses this boundary, and it could have been an A. But we wanted to be really sure that the rating that we give is correct. Yeah, so there will be a publication out on this method, but it is this layer that we introduce to make sure that we do not publish something that is awkwardly wrong. Still, it doesn't give us 100% guarantee on all the other products, but that's of course what the next 2 years are about. So this is the end of my presentation. I invite you to just scan the barcode or go on this URL to check out the results yourself. Think about how you can make use of these results and embark on this journey with us together to also improve on these data sets and to make the most out of it. Thank you very much for showing up and for your attention. And I give over the word, if I may, to Hélène.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm Hélène. I'm one of the co-founder of Inoco, and I'm responsible mostly for marketing and customers at Inoco. And I just want to give a quick overview of what we've been doing in this consortium. over the last year. So we've been working together with Eaternity and Clim, and we all share the same mission, which is to calculate the environmental impact of food at scale from farm to shelf. And for the first year, we've built an LLM-based ingredient composition algorithm that basically generates structured recipe trees from the ingredients that we can see at the back of the pack. And this is very important. This will be the foundation for calculating the footprint of any food product at scale, even when the manufacturer doesn't share data with us. We've also developed a Hestia converter, which is a tool that maps farm-level data from any provider into a harmonized open standard scheme. And this is quite important because we know that farm data can come in different formats, different language, different measurements. So this will help to harmonize the outcome. And on the platform side, we have also started to build the first version of our supplier engagement platform. So we want to develop a portal where retailers can send requests to their suppliers to ask for specific primary data. Can be also packaging, can be product composition. And we implemented a parent-child account structure, so a retailer can see buyers under him, but cannot see the data that the supplier is sharing. And on the consortium side, we've helped Manuel with the 100K release, which just happened now and that he talked about. And for us, the next phase will be to really push this supplier engagement platform to really extend the capabilities and also to implement an MCO compliant consumer communication methodology directly in the platform. So the idea is that retailers can not only assess the product carbon footprint of their food and beverage product, but also they can communicate it to their consumers in a way which is reliable and in line with the upcoming Empowering Consumer Directive. And maybe just last one, we will also implement those results and those learnings together with a pilot. So that's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hélène. Thank you very much for all the contribution that Inoco has been bringing into this project. And yes, exactly. It's really like this different puzzle pieces that come together, where we have like worked together in parallel, but for the greater picture. Thanks. On that remark, if Felix want to mention a little bit on the amazing things that Clim has been doing in this project and over the year, I invite you also.
Yes, thank you very much, Manuel. So my name is Felix Jacobson. I lead the commercial side at Clim. I'm excited for us to be a part of this because ultimately, whenever we work both with farmers as well as companies across the food or the agri-food value chain, I shall say, the question is also always about what is the consumer's side and the consumer's stake in this. And ultimately, especially when we talk about scope 3, ultimately it also spans from farmers all the way to downstream to the consumer. What do? We work primarily at farm level and we work on region ag at scale to that extent across multiple countries within Central Europe in about a little bit over 30 large-scale projects with different players across the value chain. In this project specifically, this was all about, or this is, I shall say, all about, of course, providing farm-level data wherever possible for the ingredients to feed them into the respective calculations. What does farm-level data mean? It ultimately means both above ground as well as below ground. Above ground being typically the easier one, below ground being the more complicated, but equally important one. Because if we look below ground, we start actually feeding into core benefits such as resilience. And something that most people do not know is that we've actually emitted 5 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions purely from soil organic carbon loss over the last few decades, and about how we deal with our soils. We've developed the methodology for this, which is currently for including both above ground and below ground emissions into one unique commodity footprint according to DIN ISO 14067, which is ultimately the PCF standard to that extent, which is currently also in external validation, which includes soil organic carbon modeling for below ground elements, of course, all initialized and calibrated through respective soil sampling at scale, however, stratified to an extent that we minimize both cost and sampling, but at the same time, modeling and measurement error and the respective uncertainty. And will now, over the next project phase, deliver more and more data from several hundred farms that will then feed into these respective emission factors. Exactly. And I think these are the core elements, I would say. And with that, back to you. And over to you, Manuel.
Yes, thanks, Felix. And it's this very critical piece that I think, like, with the contribution of Klim and specifically from the farmers, we can close this loop by actually not only showing that a product is better than another, but actually it is better because of the contribution of the farmers and giving it back, all the efforts that they've put in, giving it back to them. Yes, that's it. That's the big announcement for now. But yes, I thank you for the participation and thanks, and congratulates to our partners and that we reached the milestone. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.